Right now, I'm working with my husband. We have this 1,400-acre island in the Mediterranean, and we're bringing in the best architects and the best brands. But to have a point of view and to challenge people who are such artists respectfully, but not to be afraid to ask questions, it takes a lot of confidence to do that. And it's hard. So these are actually just internal early renderings. So we're in the process of doing the master planning now. But
this is beautiful.
This is an early vision. Yeah. It's going to be extraordinary. Aman's going to operate the hotel for us, and there are going to be villas, and we have Carbone, who's going to be doing the food and beverage. But it's amazing to bring together all of this talent, and for me to be able to play around and flex the real estate muscles again and have some fun with it. The
real estate, the design, the art. How hard is it to bring something like that to life? Because that looks surreal, out of this world.
Well, especially on an island, it's challenging, meaning the logistics of even getting the building materials to an island are no joke, but we will execute on it. So, and it may not be this is sort of, as I said, early conceptual drawings, but it gives a sense of sort of wanting to honor the topography that exists. And, this is obviously very modern, but making it feel right in terms of the context of the vegetation and the terrain that exists and not just have, a beautiful glass box. Obviously you want glass, you want to look out and see that gorgeous blue ocean. But how do you do that in a way that doesn't feel generic and isn't a squandered opportunity to create something new?
Yeah, and it's integrated with the natural landscape. It's a celebration of the natural landscape around it. So I guess you start from this dream-like, because this feels like a dream. And then when you're faced with the reality of the building materials and all the actual constraints of the building, then it evolves from there, right?
Yeah, and so much of architecture you don't see, but it's decisions made. So how do you create independent structures where you look out of one and don't see the other? Mm-hmm. How do you ensure the sort of the stacking and the master plan works in a way that's harmonious, and view corridors and all of those elements, all of those components of decision-making are super appreciated, but not often thought about.
What's a view corridor?
Like to make sure that the top unit, you're not looking out and seeing a whole bunch of units, you're looking out and seeing the ocean. So that's where you take this and then you start angling everything and you start thinking about, well, in this context, do we have green roofs? So if there's any hint of a roof, it's camouflaged by vegetation that matches what already exists on the island. It's where the engineers become very important.
Well, yeah. So
how do you build into a mountainside while being sensitive to the beauty of the island?
It's almost like a mathematical problem. I took a class, computational geometry in grad school, where you have to think about these view corridors. It's like a math problem.
Yeah.
Well, but it's also an art problem because it's not just about making sure that there's no occlusions to the view. You have to figure out when there is occlusions, like what is the vegetation? So you have to figure all that out. And there's probably, so every single room, every single building is a thing that adds extra complexity.
And then the choices, like how does the sun rise and set?
Yeah.
So how do you want to angle the hotel in relation
That's awesome.
to the sunrise and the sunset? You obviously want people to experience those. So which do you favor? The directionality of the wind. And on an island, and in this case, the wind's coming from the north and the vegetation is less lush on the northern end. So do you focus more on the southern end and have, the horseback riding trails and amenities up towards the north? So there are these really interesting decisions and choices you get to reflect on.
That's a fascinating sort of discussion to be having. And probably there's like actual constraints on like infrastructure issues. So all of those
the grade of the land, right? If it's super steep. So also finding the areas of topography that are flatter but still have the great views. So it's fun. It's I think of real estate and building, it's like a giant puzzle. And I love puzzles. Every piece relates to another and it's all sort of interconnected.